Okay guys, we're trying something new here. I've never did this before. This is Worm, aka Jeremy Harkin, aka GAMEOVER73, and we're going to be playing a little plo8 on Bovada, and we're going to try and see if we can put together a nice little winning session here. Playing 3 tables of 1-2 and 1 table of 3-6. Obviously I don't have any notes on any of these players since there is no screen names or heads-up displays or any of that stuff on Bovada. It's the anonymous play, which has its benefits as well as its detractors. There's been pretty good action on Bovada for quite a while now. I think the games are pretty good. This is an interesting spot. Usually when somebody's 3-betting out of the blinds, they usually have a low type hand, but it is 3-handed, and I am opening the button, so he could be 3-betting me a little bit wider than normal. Nothing going for high at all, so I'm just going to give up there. And we flop top set over here on table 1. Obviously, with 5 people to the flop and 2 flush cards and 2 straight cards, we're looking to get a lot of money in on the flop. And hopefully we can charge the draws maximum here. And now on Bovada now you can only play a maximum of 4 tables at once. So I usually play 3 or 4 when I'm playing. And looking to check raise on the table 2 here. With top 2 and a low, looks to be the best hand, and this guy just hit on the river on me. And he had a pretty big draw, open-ender, actually a double gutter and the nut flush draw. I would have probably played his hand the same way. Limped in with bad aces here, just trying to take the flop, take it down on the flop. Obviously with no low draw on that kind of board and an unraised pot, I'm just going to give up. Just go on to the next hand. I was thinking about bluffing up here on table 1, but there's no money in the pot, and we might have the best hand with a pair of 4s with an ace kicker. As a matter of fact, I might even call him if he bets here, but not really beating anything besides a bluff. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah. So seat 2 over here on table 2, the bigger table of the 3-6, seems to be pretty aggressive so far. Obviously he's got a good stack and he's not afraid to 3-bet. I typically don't raise very many hands under the gun or under the gun plus 1. If I'm on a 6-handed table and there's 6 people playing, I usually limp with most of my hands, and I'm looking to limp call or limp 3-bet, depending on my hand. I'm usually trying to drag people into the pot in these spots, and I don't like to play out of position if I can avoid it. So, curious to see what the holdings are over here. The guy limped, so he's limp re-raising ace 4 10 10. And then just bangs it. Wow. And then decided to limp re-raise the flop, which is interesting. Usually don't like to bluff into 5 people in an unraised pot with nothing, so I usually give up on those spots. So here we've got a double gutter, second nut low draw, and bottom pair. It's worth a He's only betting just over half the pot. This is pretty good. And we're going to get all in pre-flop with ace, ace, deuce, 5 with a suit. He just bought in for 50 blinds, so I'm more than willing to get it in with that hand, obviously. And he's just got stacked a couple times, so he might be on tilt. Well, he actually has a decent hand. And he need a high card. And so we quartered him, which is fine, because he had a decent hand also. And here versus the short stack, aces, the nut flush draw, the second nut low. That's an easy bet. Top pair and a gut shot. This guy's only betting half the pot. And we hit it. So now he's checking. Usually checking with like a flush draw or maybe aces up. So I'm going to bet pretty hard to make him call on his draws, and this looks like a hand that he can't see me making anyways, which is the gut shot. That's kind of a bad card because he might have the same hand, but we're gonna bet smaller to hope to get it paid off. But he could call us with a number of straights, so I like to bet a little bit more than normal there because there's so many hands that make a straight there. And he could think that we have a aces up or a busted flush draw or something, you know. So I'm fine with betting a little bit more. Usually the better players are more likely to hero call you in spots like that anyways, so I'd be more inclined to bet on the higher side there versus a good player, or who I think is a good player. Obviously folding here. Not sure if Bovada even has the automatic reload on it, but I always like to have the maximum in front of me when I can. I like to raise any premium, well, not even premium, but any ace deuce, suited ace deuce with a backup wheel card hand in the cutoff or the button, especially to somebody who limps into the gun. They play pretty well. They're pretty easy hands to play for the most part, I think. So we've got top and bottom with a 4-8 low draw. This is kind of a weak two-way hand, and he's leading right into us, which the lead into me typically means that he's somewhat weak, I think, or he has like an okay to good one-way hand. So I'm going to go ahead and raise here, and I think that he's going to have a hard time calling. Unless he has a really good hand, and then if he comes over the top for everything, I don't know, I might have just priced myself in there. I'd have to think about this one. So if he has ace 9 and something, he's, well, I don't know. This looks like a decent hand in high-low, but it's actually pretty trashy. It's a weak pair and a weak flush draw and a really weak low. It's just, you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble playing hands like this that look good maybe, but they're actually pretty weak hands. So I like to play ace, suited ace, or ace wheel cards, ideally with like a deuce or a 3. Or maybe a big pair like queens or better with a 2-3 low or better, like those type of hands. Or maybe a high only hand that has a suited ace with 4 cards that are 10 and higher. In high-low, you just, especially pot limit, you just really gotta play good hands. It's what makes the most money usually. So I did notice that the guy who was buying in for 50 blinds reloaded for the max now. So sometimes games like these aren't that great when you've got people sitting with full buy-ins and they're playing aggressive. They're probably tougher players. I usually like to play in games that have shorter stacks, like these $96 ones and 67, and people that are either trying to take shots in games they're not really bankrolled for, or they're just not really that comfortable with the games, so they don't want to buy in that much, and those are usually the good players to attack. This is about as weak as hand as I have limp under the gun. Ace 339, no suits, pretty bad. Ace queen queen 10 suited queen. That's just like a limp and hope that you can see a cheap flop, or maybe call one raise and take a multi-way plot. Just hope you can hit something. So he's raising out of the blinds. That's usually like a good ace deuce type hand. Sometimes I call here thinking that they may also have aces, and I can snap them off in position. Possibly win a big pot if I flop pretty well. This guy had the call button already clicked, which is interesting.